So hey y'all, I'm back with another video. So tonight's video is yet again another Chioma Chats video podcast edition. So by the title, we're going to be talking about Flo Milli finally understanding colorism. So Flo Milli did a podcast interview with Young Miami on her Carisha Please podcast show and talked about her experience with colorism.
How do you feel when people say that you're underrated because you're dark skinned?
I feel like it's kind of like it's different for me to digest because I feel like I made it so far and like, you know, coming from where I come from, like that where I am now is an accomplishment. So it was kind of like triggering a little bit to kind of get on the internet and be, you know, ridiculed for that. And also like the whole like colorism thing was crazy because it's like I didn't really know. Like, of course, I knew what it was subconsciously because, you know, we always hear that shit in music growing up and stuff. But like when I was 18, I actually like looked it up. Like, what is this? Because my mom, she's actually light skinned. And she never, like, ever treated me different from my sister or anything. So I didn't really grow up, like, being ridiculed unless I was at school. I'm not gonna lie, at school, definitely dealt with that. But, like, at home, like, my mom loved me the same. So it was just, like, different once I got famous to, like, hear that and see that on the internet. It was definitely eye-opening for sure. But, you know, I think that shit is just like kind of brought down from slavery. That's my opinion. They made us think our skin color was an issue and that kind of taught our people to make it an issue.
Yeah.
That's just what I think. Yeah. And then like we didn't even understand it for real. We were kids and people like making little jokes and stuff and they don't even understand. Like we all went through this at one point. So
definitely did. We all went through that. And I think it just be people projecting. You know what I'm saying? Like, because you have done a lot and I see you everywhere and you are so successful. So how can you say that, like, I'm not supposed to be where I'm supposed to be? Like,
right. It's crazy.
You ain't even where I'm at.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Literally, and that's why I was like, damn, is it just a thing? Like, y'all, like, making it a thing? Like, it was interesting to go through, but I don't know. Like, I definitely think part of it is, like, projecting for sure.
Yeah. People are losers. And it's like, you supposed to be here. You're not even here.
Right. Like, baby, do half of what I did.
And you're so young.
Thank you.
So you're doing your damn thing. But I feel like we see you everywhere. You see you at Fashion Week. I honestly see you. I always say she have a great team.
Thank you.
I feel like they put you in the right position. They put you in the right places, and we see you everywhere.
Yeah.
Flo Milli is a dark-skinned rapper out of Alabama. She's been on the docket here quite recently, and I don't know what that means, but I never really talked about her that much before up until now, whether it's for good or bad reason. But she speaks about colorism and her understanding of it and her experience of it. Now, the controversy is the last time we've heard her discuss this topic, she somewhat dissed her fans, and she turned a cold shoulder and a blind eye to how colorism definitely affects darker-skinned female rappers or just darker skinned women in entertainment. I've made several videos about colorism over the years. I feel like this topic has been one of the key points on my channel as someone who isn't light skinned, and for her to go on Carisha's podcast and discuss this, it's interesting. So I've broken this video down into one overall main talking point. So without further ado, let's get right into this video. So my one and overall main talking point is Flo Milli now understands colorism. I'm having a hard time attacking this because I really feel like I could go in, but for the sake of the sensitivity of this topic and the fact that I think there are some women who react to the colorism that they may face in a delusional or showing that they're in denial type of way, I'm going to speak on what I think is happening here. I first want to flash back to a video that I made a year ago and a video I made 5 years ago about this topic and on Flo Milli. Let's roll the clip. Flo Milli to me is underrated because I feel like when we ask for versatility or just a different visual of what we want in female rap artists, she does provide that. So to see her kind of still in the mid-range of popularity within the genre, I definitely would consider her still underrated. So what's happening here is that we're having these comparison conversations again, and I'm actually here for it. People want everybody to just shut up and take what's put in front of us, but I think people should stop trying to silence people because there is a reason why people want to compare the career, rise, and trajectory of different artists, because a lot of people are waking up and realizing that there are a lot of artists who are mainstream that don't necessarily give much of anything but mediocre music and boobs and butt. I'm not saying that this is wrong or right. I'm just saying that this is what it is. Flo Milli basically pulled a cash doll, and she's been stating that she is good and colorism doesn't necessarily affect her career, and she's kind of irritated with the narrative that her dark skin is a hindrance despite her being pretty successful. Now, a few years ago, Cash Doll, who was a rapper out of Detroit, basically said said the same thing. I actually feel like Cash Doll is underrated as well, and I mean like really underrated. The girl has bars, she has a voice that is distinct, she has a voice that you're not gonna get anywhere else because that Detroit style of talking is just completely different. Now, I live in Northwest Ohio, so Detroit is literally down the street from me, so I'm kind of more privy to that Detroit sound, but I still think that Cash Doll is underrated. And I feel like both her and Flo Milli and many other female rap artists of a certain complexion don't get the recognition that they deserve due to many factors. One being what they look like. So 4 or so years ago, I did a video on Cash Doll making comments about colorism, and here's what I had to say. So recently, Cash Doll decided to say something very, I would say is ignorant. And if Cash Doll is clearly a dark-skinned girl that you can see from the images on the screen, and she said something very, very ignorant. So Cash Doll decided to say, I don't believe in colorism, I'm sorry. Or maybe I haven't ran into that problem yet. First of all, I don't believe that Cash Doll has never experienced colorism. I just don't. I really don't. So I don't believe that she's never experienced colorism. I feel like she just tried to say that to just come off as nonchalant or just unaccountable for things. That way she can seem like she's above it all. Now, Cash Doll, you don't believe in colorism. Okay, sis, let me just talk to you real quick. First and foremost, this all started when other female rapper Bianca, who is also dark skinned, you guys may know her from the girl who's chicken noodle soup. Hey, chicken noodle soup, chicken noodle soup. What is so on the side? I let her rain. Hey, and I clear it out. So Bianca was really just going on a rampage on Instagram, basically just saying like, you know, it's harder for a dark skinned girl to do anything. You have to work twice as hard in this industry to be seen as equal to maybe your other female counterparts who don't quite look like you. And I completely agree, because I've said that again and again and again, and I'm not about to switch up my stance because of anybody. I believe her. It is harder for women of darker shades to get the same opportunities. So to turn around and see that Flo Milli is kind of mimicking that same ordeal that Cash Doll put out is a bit cringy, because I feel like what she's trying to do is deflect from being problematic, which is perfectly fine. I get it. But I don't think disregarding something that is an obvious reality is okay either. How many videos have I done about colorism, and especially how it pertains to the entertainment industry? And some people are tired of this conversation, but it's because it's still very, very prevalent that darker skinned female entertainers get underlooked by not just the industry, but also the general public, that I keep talking. So Carisha Please is a podcast show where she interviews people in the industry, and some of her episodes really aren't bad. I've watched a few that have been really good, and I think it's the one thing that she has going for her despite all of the controversy that she's in. And to see Flo Milli on the podcast was good, because I do champion a female artist in rap who has the talent and the look that I like. Flo Milli and I actually look very similar, to the point where when I posted a picture of her showing that she was pregnant, as I was scrolling on Instagram, I almost thought that this was me. I really did, y'all. I was like, oh wait, hold on, am I pregnant? The birth control ain't working. And I heard that she's very tall, more slim. We're very similar. So her representation mixed with the talent, I'm here for it, because oftentimes my look and who I am naturally just isn't represented. However, I've spent years on my channel talking about colorism for the reason that I always understood that being darker skinned, having a certain hair texture, having certain features, and my non-proximity to whiteness worked against me in many ways. Whether it's the juvenile example of not being picked by the boys at school, whether it's the societal example of being stereotyped as something negative, or whether it's the physical example of being deemed ugly or not worth a chance or undesirable just because you have a darker skin tone. And that's irregardless of whatever your features look like. And the reason why I held on to this topic from when I first started doing commentary is because when you grow up living in a society where it's just simply unfair, you weren't dealt with a certain card of genetics that propels you to be accepted in spaces where maybe you have more talent or more intellect or more drive to accomplish a goal, it really does suck. It literally sucks. I've heard guys say she's pretty, she's just not my type. I've had people say, oh, she's African, which makes her undesirable because Africans are oftentimes equated to being dark or having the ugliest features, being that they are Afrocentric. I've had people say, oh, she's a black girl and dark, so she probably behaves in a certain way. And I think if you are dark and you don't even have to be a deep dark, I feel like if you just are not light skinned, like you're not passing the brown paper bag test, or you don't look like you could be potentially mixed with something else, you've felt this in different ways. Maybe some of us had more intense experiences than others, but I consider myself brown skinned, and even as a brown skinned girl, if you put me amongst a group of women who are all lighter than me, I get called dark skinned, which is fine, but that lineup automatically just discredits a lot about me because of my skin tone. And this is mainly in black spaces where colorism has been affecting black women, black people, but mainly black women for centuries. We all know that during the transatlantic slave trade, when slaves were being sold off, colorism was used to determine the quality of a slave. slave, which slaves worked inside the house, which were usually lighter-skinned slaves, and which slaves had to be outside doing less domestic duties that were more strenuous and dangerous, which were darker-skinned slaves. So it goes way back, and we all know this. And for somebody to act as if it will never or has never been a contributing factor to why they may not be as big, successful, popular, well-known, promoted, or whatever, I find that very hard to believe. A very integral part of Black or African history is deeply rooted in the colorism conversation. And there's nobody, not a self-hating Black person, not a racist white person, or anybody outside of the Black diaspora that will ever make me not agree. It affects people to this day. We've been internalized to believe that because somebody is darker, they are a certain way, which may or may not be true. See, I do believe that stereotypes are true. I just don't think they apply to everybody, but there's validity in certain stereotypes. But it doesn't mean that there aren't lighter-skinned Black people or multiracial or biracial people who consider themselves Black who don't participate in some of the negative stereotypes that are put onto all Black people. So I say all of this to say, when Flo Milli did this interview, it's crazy how now she understands how colorism potentially affects her, when initially she wrote it off as people were just trying to take away from her success or make people feel insecure or diminish her light, when that was never the case. So let's look at this article from Revolt. This was back in 2023. And it's funny because now she's doing a podcast that is sponsored or hosted on Revolt. But it says, Flo Milli takes aim at haters flipping her underdog story into a tired narrative about colorism. She says, ever since I was younger, I've always been sure of myself, said Flo Milli in a new interview. Ever since I was younger, I've always been sure of myself, she told Rolling Stone in a new feature that touched on her upcoming project and more. Even sometimes when I wasn't, I still came off like I was. I've always been a lit B. Some people have that star quality, and people would try to make me feel like I shouldn't have been shining like that. But all that did was make me stronger, she noted. Elsewhere in the interview, the rising talent addressed critics who claim she is underrated due to colorism. They want me to be insecure about my skin tone, which is never going to happen. I want people to understand everybody does not hate themselves, said Flo when explaining a past tweet regarding the, quote, tired narrative. She continued, I was also telling them to stop using my name to degrade other people. I want y'all to support me, but don't try to bring another woman down in the process, because that don't make me feel good. So there are several ways that I can unpack what she was saying. One of the parts is the fact that she said she doesn't want people to use other people's names to bring them down because it doesn't make her feel good. And while I do understand what she's trying to say here, I don't think that was the case, like not even a little bit. Flo Milli is a way better artist than Ice Spice. That's who she was referring to. She's a way better artist than a lot of mainstream girls, and that's coming from somebody who critiques female artists right here on this channel, and I'll gladly say it. So it's not the case of bringing another person down. I think it's just the truth of the matter. The truth is, you're better than Ice Spice, but Ice Spice has an edge or something that she possesses that places her in a different realm, a different level of success, a different popularity status, a different promotion than you, and there has to be a reason why. And that reason has to be the truth. And that reason, which anybody who cares about the Black experience or just has common sense knows why that is. And Flo Milli knows why that is. And that is colorism. If you made Flo Milli the same skin tone as Ice Spice and you put them both out there and we judge on talent, we're still picking Flo Milli as the most talented. And I do think when it comes to the female artist, your appeal, your sexual appeal, your physical assets, that all plays a part too. She's taller and thinner, she looks more model-esque, and with the whole wave of people being thicker and more voluptuous and how much focus we put onto that as a society, that's another reason that would hinder someone. But the first thing we're going to look at is your proximity to whiteness or your ambiguity. Maybe we don't want a female rapper who is just straight white to be at the top of the charts. I don't think hip hop listeners would actually push it. I think we would look at it because it's contrary to the norm, but people want to have someone that seems to be a part of Black culture, maybe from their upbringing or how they talk or whatever, but has that je ne sais quoi about them that makes us see that they're the upper echelon of what we desire or mesmerize within Black culture. And a lot of times that is ambiguity or just your look not being Afrocentric. And again, that goes all the way back to slavery. But with slavery in a way being over, and I say that with a grain of salt, the modern day version of some of these ideologies that were cast upon us by racist white slave owners or just racist in America at the time is how we as Black people view ourselves, categorize ourselves, and promote ourselves just based off of physical appearance. And in an industry where looks matter, beauty matters, and selling those aspects matter, Flo Milli very much understands that and knew all of that before she said any of the comments that she said. So I don't really understand her comments when she made the tweet and said, I wish y'all would stop with this tired narrative y'all love to push about my career. Another post read, and stop mentioning me while trying to degrade another artist. It's weird because I think people were just vouching for her experience because they too see her as a talented, creative, and quality female rap artist with good potential, but we understand the metrics of the industry. And I know some people are going to argue that we do have women who are darker in the mainstream, such as Megan Thee Stallion or JT, but when you really line up all of the girls that you consider, most of them are not darker. And they don't have to be. I think a lot of times we think that darker skin representation means that we have to leave out light skinned women or brown skinned women, and we don't. I would never promote that. But when something is tipping the scale to a heavy common look, we do call it out. And I think that's where the fans were coming from. I just think during this era, we've seen a surplus of a certain look of a female rapper. And then when you listen to Flo Milli and you realize, yes, she does have the themes that are on brand with the stereotypical female rapper, but her persona just stands out regardless. It does make you question, where is that support or that push or that representation? I think with Megan Thee Stallion and JT, yes, they are brown skin and dark skin, but they're also more of the aesthetic with being more voluptuous, being more sexual, being more curvy, showing more skin. And that is a nuance in their branding that propels them, regardless of their color. And oftentimes we say that Black women, but in this case, brown and darker skinned women have to push more on the sexualized nature to stand out, because that is sometimes what brings more attention to us. And it shouldn't be that way, but we know that it is. So for Flo Milli, I will say I'm glad that she was a lot more transparent in her understanding, but colorism as a topic is something that you can't gaslight people on. For her to finally understand it, which I think she always did, I just think that she just didn't want to accept that people saw an aspect of her career that could potentially be a reason why she isn't as mainstream. She's been growing a lot this year, but when she said it last year, she was still kind of up and coming. But I do think she's doing pretty well now in terms of her being known. Nonetheless, I don't play about colorism, and I really don't like when women who are directly or sometimes indirectly affected by it don't acknowledge that it does exist, because it kind of diminishes the plight that a lot of us brown or darker skinned women experience throughout our entire lives. No one was trying to put her down or put down another artist. I think people were just making an honest determination of a factor that has been affecting a lot of brown and darker skinned women for centuries. And I really hope that she understands that now. So that is it for this video. I hope you all enjoyed. Please let me know your commentary on my commentary down below. What do you think? What do you know? Let me know. Y'all, this weekend I'm going to be in Atlanta. I'm going to the HBCU Celebration Bowl, and I believe it's at the Mercedes-Benz Stadium. So let me know if anybody else is going. I've never been to an HBCU anything, like a game. So I'm super excited to see the band, the dancers, just the whole thing. I will be in Atlanta for like a month. So if there's anything else going on, definitely let me know. And last but not least, as always, don't forget to follow me on all of my social media networks, and I will see y'all in my next video. Bye, y'all.
Oh, hail the queen, QC, yeah, she is risen. Presents is a gift, so I come with the ribbon. Internet told me stop rapping, I ain't listen to them. No, I really got more bars in the prison system, right? Yeah, one beef, step into the kitchen. Murder flows, you could suspect, I am not the victim. Be queen, D's on that bitch like we with the Pistons. Red cherry, red bottoms, I know how to pick them. Always got a secret plan, I don't do the fighting. Shorty is a secret fan, yeah, she ghost riding. Brown skin beauty with a booty, showtime. Go off on a tangent, I don't need a cosign. 12 baddies limited, I cheap about a dozen. Hot girl straight up out the microwave oven. Gotta bring a chicken, man, before you get the stuffing. In this beat going crazy, snapping on percussion. Chioma at the top, I'm the #1 prospect. Beat from Lakia when she slid on Cosmic. Told him coming here, boo, I'm trying to make your jaw stiff. I got no pics, but I wanna see your pockets. Big glossy lips, dry them out like a faucet. Speak chickenese, so I put them in a cockpit. Cooking in the studio, call me Betty Crockett. Gingerbread baby running fast like Sonic. It's commendable, was a ceremony, but now it's a festival. New money now, so you gotta move a decimal. Presidential suite, and it's looking all congressional. I'm so delectable, pull your queen card, cause mine is a collectible. Better mind your business and stay up off my genitals. Probably make them high, cause my body's like an edible. Wait, let me stop, cause I'm trying to be professional. Damn. I know that's what y'all said when you heard that verse. I know, right? Y'all was like, damn. Respectfully though, we on Victoria Island. Like a gullah gullah, sun on my melanin. Working on my color bubblegum pink fit. Chew you out like hubba bubba. Need my check Friday, I'm calling you a moda soca. Chineke me, baby, I'm so fine. I damn wine, be sweet like palm wine. Now onyekele, yeah, come say hi. I see so, baby, no be long time. Go dumb on the beat, but I'm chilling with the smarty guys. Melanin militia on, go on with the army wise. Pull up with the van, he gotta go, now it's starry skies. Big